You know, most stories about Elvis Presley talk about the songs he did record, the hits, the anthems, the music that shaped a generation. But tonight, I want to tell you a story about the one song he never recorded, a song he refused to touch, refused to hum, refused to even hear in the studio, a song the world believed he simply didn't care for. But the truth was far more painful, because Elvis didn't avoid that song out of pride. He avoided it because of a wound that never fully healed. And the man who first revealed this story wasn't a producer or a bodyguard or a bandmate. It came from his closest friend in those final years, a man named Tommy Rivers, a quiet soul who stood by Elvis through fame, heartbreak, and decline. Tommy kept this secret for decades. He only told it once, a few months before he died. And once you hear it tonight, you may never listen to Elvis's music the same way again. Before I go on, if you love untold stories about Elvis, the legends, the secrets, the memories the world has forgotten, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps keep these stories alive for the people who still care. Now, let me take you back. Graceland, late summer, 1976. Elvis wasn't doing well. His health was slipping, his spirit was tired, and the people closest to him could feel it. But there was one thing that still lit him up inside: late-night jam sessions. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, he'd gather whoever was still awake, a few musicians, a few friends, and he'd settle at the piano in the racquetball court, barefoot, eyes heavy, voice soft. Sometimes he'd play gospel, sometimes old blues from Beale Street, sometimes just slow hymns that made the whole room go still. And on one of those nights, Tommy walked in carrying a stack of sheet music. He said, "Someone sent this over from Nashville. They think it's perfect for you." Elvis didn't look up. "Tommy, you know I don't pick songs anymore. They pick them for me." But Tommy wasn't one to give up. He set the sheet music on the piano. "It's about a boy and his mother," he said softly. "A boy who never got to say goodbye." That's when Elvis froze. His fingers, resting lightly on the keys, went still. His shoulders stiffened, and the room went silent. "Elvis?" Tommy asked with a slow breath. Elvis slid the sheet music aside without even glancing at it. "No," he whispered, "I'm not singing that." Tommy didn't understand. "It's beautiful, E. I think people—" Elvis stood up suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. "I said no." He walked out of the room, and that was the first time Tommy ever saw Elvis run from a song. Weeks later, they were back in the studio. Elvis looked exhausted, but he'd pushed himself to record again. Everyone hoped a hit would lift his spirits. And then, for the second time, someone brought up that same song. "E." The producer smiled. "The one about the mother? We think it might be the comeback track." This time, Elvis didn't freeze. He didn't get angry. He just closed his eyes and whispered, "Don't ever ask me to sing that again." There was something final in his voice, something fragile. After the session, Tommy found him sitting alone outside, legs hanging off the side of the steps, the Memphis night air thick around them. "Elvis," he said gently, "what is it about that song? You've sung thousands of heartbroken songs before." Elvis didn't look at him. He stared out toward the dark trees of Graceland, and for a moment he didn't look like Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. He looked like a lonely boy from Tupelo. "You want to know why I won't sing it?" he finally said. "Because it's not a song, Tommy. It's my life." Tommy didn't speak. Elvis continued, voice almost breaking. "That song. It's about a boy who grows up poor, who promises his mama he's gonna buy her a big house one day. And when he finally does, she ain't there to live in it." He swallowed hard. "I promised my mama a better life, and she didn't get to see it. Not the real part. Not the part where I could finally take care of her." Tommy felt his chest tighten. He had heard Elvis talk about Gladys before. The warmth, the closeness, the bond deeper than most sons ever know. But this was different. "Elvis," Tommy said quietly, "she saw plenty. She saw you." Elvis shook his head. "No, she saw the beginning. She saw the boy on stage shaking his leg like a fool. She saw people laughing, calling me names. She never saw the mansions, the tours, the world. She never saw me become what she always said I'd be. He paused. Every dream she ever had for me, I lived it, but she wasn't there to see it. Tommy tried to speak, but Elvis raised a hand, a gesture soft but final. That's why I can't sing that song, because it feels like singing an apology that she ain't here to hear. A few months later, as Elvis's health worsened, he and Tommy had one final real conversation, one final moment of honesty. Elvis, Tommy whispered, if you had one regret, just one, what would it be? Elvis didn't hesitate. That I couldn't show Mama the man I became before the world took him away. And then he added something Tommy never forgot. Some songs aren't meant for the stage. Some songs are only meant for heaven. Tommy would later tell friends that when Elvis said those words, his voice didn't sound like the king. It sounded like a broken son, a son who never healed from losing the one person who loved him without fame, without music, without the world watching. And here's the part that still gives people chills. After Elvis passed, after the dust settled, after Graceland became a museum, Tommy went back through Elvis's belongings, and in one old drawer, tucked inside a Bible, he found the sheet music for that song, the one Elvis refused to record, except this time there was a handwritten note on top, 4 simple words. I'm sorry, Mama, maybe someday. But he never recorded it. He couldn't. And maybe that was the saddest part of all, that the one song the world never heard was the one closest to his heart. If you enjoyed this story, and if you want more untold Elvis moments, hidden memories, and the emotional truths behind the legend, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It keeps these stories alive for those who still remember him. And before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Elvis carried a regret that heavy all his life? Or do you think he found peace in his own way? Let me know in the comments below.